12 steps to transcend to 5D. This is step 10. Continue to be conscious of when we acted from our 3D devaluation programming and immediately sought to act from our 5D identity. Hello and welcome back to the Thunder Wizard channel. This is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Welcome to the channel. So if you haven't already, go and watch the 12 steps to 5D. There is a playlist on the channel. Go start watching from step 1 or the introduction. This is going to be, I'm very happy that I've got to this step now. It was not my intention to wait this long, but I'm glad I did, because we're really starting to get into the reversing narcissistic abuse devaluation programming, which if you want to learn more about that, go to reversenarcabuse.com. I've got an introductory video course there. And we are just really starting to get into it in the quantum shifting, which you can find at thunderwizard.com. Quantum shifting number 1 is free. It's found on the channel. It's also found there at the thunderwizard.com site. So you can watch that, and we're really going to get into this. But the 12 steps to 5D, this is something that I want to make available to everybody. So it's on the free YouTube channel in the playlist. Start from the beginning. If you haven't done the steps yet, stop this video, go back, watch it from from the introduction and do it from 1 through 9, then come back to this video. If you're still watching this, it means that you've done steps 1 through 9. By the way, the steps have to be done. It's not about reading them. It's not about listening to the videos. If all you've done is gone and watched the videos, you have not done the steps. Now, I know I'm not going to stop you from watching the videos anyway. I know you're going to do that, even though I'm telling you, do not watch the videos until you've actually done the steps and followed the requirements. But I know many of you will anyway. But hopefully you're watching this because you've actually done steps 1 through 9. So let's walk through the steps. 1, admitted we were powerless over our 3D virtual reality experience of life and became trapped in the 3D illusion. 2, came to believe that personal interaction with the quantum field energy could restore us to our original awareness of self and giving us the power to create our perfect reality. Step 3, turned our will and our lives over to a higher dimensional force of our choosing. 4, made a list of all of our resentments, regrets, and disappointments we had in our 3D experience so far. 5, admitted to ourselves, to our sponsor, and to a higher dimensional consciousness the fear-based survival responses that had created our ongoing 3D limitations. 6, became ready to have all of these ineffective, unconscious 3D survival responses removed by a higher dimensional force. 7, directly asked the quantum field to remove our self-devaluing programmed responses to life. 8, made a list of all of the ways in which we had minimized our happiness and the happiness of others. 9, we sought to take direct actions to experience everything we desired without limiting the freedom of others to do the same. And now we're up to speed. Step 10, we continued to become conscious each day if we acted from our old self-devaluing assumptions about reality, and when necessary, immediately corrected our actions and assumptions. All right, so that is step 10. I've condensed the language a little bit here just to fit on here. Continue to be conscious of when we acted from our 3D devaluation programming and immediately sought to act from our 5D identity. So the program is really steps 1 through 9. So if you do steps 1 through 9 over and over again, it'll function, it'll work. Steps 10, 11, and 12 are really just that. It's recycling steps 1 through 9, and as you continue to do them, you can do it more and more in a condensed fashion. So step 10, continued to be conscious of when we acted from our 3D devaluation programming. So as we've been talking about recently. And again, this is why I'm so happy, we're moving into the quantum shifting and we're talking about the narcissistic devaluation programming on planet Earth, is because that's what this is really, step 10 is about that. Steps 1 through 9 are to help you to become aware that you have been programmed to devalue yourself, which is a fancy way of saying telling yourself you're not worthy of being loved. And remember, the only thing that gives you lovability is the fact that you exist, and there's literally nothing you can do that will make you more lovable than you are simply because you exist. There's nothing you can do, which means that you are infinitely lovable. Because if there was something you could do to make yourself a little bit more lovable, then you wouldn't be infinitely lovable. This is why, you're God. This is how we look at God. God is ultimately, the ultimate loving force, and it's the ultimate. Well, that God you worship, whatever that God is right here. It's you. The kingdom of God is within you. It means you are God. You are a ray of consciousness coming out of the quantum field. This is another word for saying God. I obviously don't believe in the biblical God that sits around and tells you what to do and throws you in. That's the human ego. That's not a deity. That's not the source of consciousness. You are the source of consciousness. If you go into your soul and you go deeper into your soul and you keep going, you will eventually show up and realize that you are God. You are the deity that created everything. You will find that out if you continue to do this work that we're talking about. So the only way to stay limited is to devalue yourself, is to limit yourself and to say you're not infinitely lovable. So in order for us to shift out of this 3D frequency, which is a frequency of self-devaluation, limitation, good and bad, right and wrong, fighting against enemies and competing with others, and there's not enough this, and we have to be better than that person, and the whole idea of money and the whole idea of all that stuff comes from a frequency of you not being lovable. So when we get to step 10, every time that we find ourselves thinking in ways that devalue us, we stop. Try and at least acknowledge and change that thinking. When we take actions, when you blow up at somebody that isn't doing anything to harm you, when I like watching. It's interesting because I could care less about food. I'm not a foodie, but I love watching Hell's Kitchen. The reason why I love watching Hell's Kitchen isn't because I give a crap about food. I have a very plain palate, and I have foods that I like, and I could care less about that. The reason why I like it is because Chef Ramsay is a lot like me. He believes that everybody that comes onto his show can be the best chef that has ever existed, and he wants to make them a better chef than he is. And so when he's yelling at you, it's not because you're a bad person, it's because you're devaluing yourself. And you see that all of the chefs there are brilliant chefs when they have infinite amount of time to do whatever they want. But when they're under the gun and they have to really focus, only the people that are really committed to being the best possible version of themselves, those are the people that win. And the people that don't, when you listen, what you find out is that they are acting on their self-devaluation and they sabotage themselves. And it's just such a great lesson. I love watching that, and I analyze that, and I analyze myself, and I say, do I do that? How can I reach that level? How can I be the best possible version of myself I can be? And that starts with loving yourself, believing in yourself. And so this step 10 is you catch yourself whenever you think in ways that devalue you, but more specifically when you catch yourself acting in ways. You see, there's a beautiful girl in your biology class, and you guys have talked a few times, and there's a vibe, and you talk yourself out of asking her out. Stop. Go, hang on a second. I'm going to do the opposite right now. I'm the most amazing, beautiful person in the world, that person would be lucky to be with me. I'm going to go ask her out. Whether she says yes or no is completely beside the point. Fact is, you are acting on the awareness that you are the most wonderful, beautiful being in existence. You may not believe that yet. You may not be acting like that. But the idea is to change your actions. So in 12-step work, the most valuable tool I learned was taking contrary action. What that means is taking the actions that are directly opposite of your impulses. And it means, in the case of some 12-step groups, really hardcore addictions, your life depends on you taking contrary action, which means that you are going to take actions that are absolutely terrifying, because your impulse will be telling you to take an action that is very destructive. And it will, if you just allow yourself to just do what your impulses are telling you, it's very easy, but you could end up dying from it. Now, you're not under that kind of gun here, but if you want to shift to 5D, then you have to be willing to do the same thing. Take actions that are absolutely terrifying. Now, I'm not saying any actions, it's contrary actions. So when you become aware that you have impulses, desires, and you have habits where you take actions that are self-sabotaging, self-devaluing, then you stop and you do the opposite. I gave you an example. If you're somebody that's afraid of rejection, and so you then never ask anybody out, even though there's a connection, you do the opposite. You go, I'm scared to death. I might get rejected. I don't know. Or worse yet, she might say yes. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to go ask that girl out, even though everything inside of me is telling me, is screaming at me to do the opposite. I'm going to take contrary action. So this is kind of part of step 10. Whenever you catch yourself even thinking differently. Now, if you're doing the 12 steps to 5D, it is my hope that you are doing the interdimensional meditations. As you know, we have live interdimensional meditations every Wednesday and Saturday. And listen, if you think that I'm doing these, guiding these meditations and I'm getting out unscathed, you are absolutely wrong. There are days where I really have to force myself to come and do it, because I know I'm going to die on a third dimensional level. It's going to be potentially traumatizing. Having light beings look you in the face and tell you how beautiful you are, that you are a god in another universe, or that, whatever it is, it is challenging. When that higher dimensional energy hits you, you have to shift up and expand into it. It means you have to die to your third dimensional attachments. We are attached. We are addicted to self-devaluation. So getting rid of that addiction is not something that is easy. It's not just happy, love, and light, especially if you've been traumatized. It's challenging, really allowing yourself to be loved and seen and love yourself. If you're part of the same 3D reality I am, it's going to be very challenging. Odin, when Odin became king of the gods, he sacrificed himself to himself, screaming, it says, screaming he took up the runes, screaming he awakened to the truth. It was challenging. He had to force himself to look at it. So, I'm not trying to say that you need to be traumatized all the time, but taking step 10 is you are consciously choosing to take actions that come from the assumption that you are God, that you are the most beautiful, wonderful being in existence, and that you are the most amazing being that the universe loves, and that you are capable of anything and everything. And whenever you're in a position where you have to take a chance, and it's something that your soul wants, you have to do the opposite of what your devaluation programming tells you. Mike Tyson said recently about this fight. I think it's been put off now, but he's almost 60, and he has decided to have a professional boxing match with Jake Paul, a 20-something-year-old, boxer. He's no slouch. He's not, technically not, at the elite level, but he's no slouch. The guy can box, and he's a young kid. And he's, so a 50-something-year-old, even if a world champion, going up against a well-trained guy in his 20s who knows how to box, that's a whole different deal. That's a scary thing. I know, because, I'm almost 61 myself, and I can tell you that I just do not have the physical capacity I did, even though I'm in excellent health and I'm very athletic, I'm very physical. Doesn't change the fact that I couldn't do what I could do 30 years ago. I can't even come close in some instances. So what he said was that the thought of it scared him. And he says, whenever something frightens me, I have to do it. Now, we'll see if he follows through, because he's now talked himself out of it, because he whatever. For the time being, it's been put off. But at least that statement I completely agree with. If something is aligned with your soul, with your highest, best interest, and it causes you fear, you have to do it. You have to do the thing that you don't want to do when it comes to your evolution. You don't have to do the things that devalue you. All right, so we could go on and on and on and on and on, but I'll just leave it at that. 12 steps to 5D. Step 10 is, let's read the entire one here, which is, we continue to become conscious each day if we acted from our old self-devaluing assumptions about reality, and when necessary, immediately corrected our actions and assumptions. All right, so there you go. Step 11 will be coming whenever it comes. But anyway, I hope this was helpful to you, and I love you all. And please remember, you are the most important, valuable being that has ever existed. You are the most beautiful, the most lovable, the most amazing being that has ever existed. Please know that the entire multiverse was created solely for your personal pleasure and fulfillment. And when you take actions, when you live your life with the primary goal of meeting the desires of your soul, every other conscious being in the universe evolves, including the most powerful gods. They themselves, Shiva himself, will prostrate himself before you when you fulfill your own soul desires, and he will worship you as the God that created him. And I do the same. I honor that quantum field within you. And whenever you seek to give your soul the greatest satisfaction, I am created, I am empowered, and I literally worship that within you. Thank you so much. And as always, my friends, until we all shift out of this 3D, I will see you all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves.